Sitting before me with a nice festive cushion behind her is the MP for Lewis, Maria Caulfield. Morning, Maria.
Morning. Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho. Was that it?
Was that it, yeah?
I like that. Ho, ho, ho. Far humbug to you too, Mrs. Welcome anyway. It's bright and early, as opposed to sort of where you're supposed to be near 2 hours later. But you're going on the television a bit later, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I'm supposed to be on the Daily Politics show later, so yes, but I couldn't not fit in UckfieldFM.
We're most grateful for that. We are grateful for that. I'm not quite sure I know where to start with all of this. I'm actually going to start, I think, really with Philip Hammond's performance in the Commons the other day, and all sorts of different ways this final autumn statement is being taken. How did you see it?
Well, it was quite a quiet autumn statement, I think, and, there were some good things. Some things I was really pleased to see was the freeze and fuel duty, which will make a huge difference to areas like this where we are so reliant on vehicles. The freeze could mean something like £300 saving for van drivers, something like over £100 a year saving for the ordinary car driver. So that has to be welcomed.
What I never understand is how come a freeze always equates to savings? Because it's kind of a fictitious thing, isn't it, really? Because it's a potential rise that might have been that never
absolutely.
was.
Yes,
so it's not actually a rise, is it?
Well, I mean, there was a fear that the freeze and fuel duty would go and there could be a rise of about 2%.
I'm grateful. I'm pleased that it's not gone up.
Yeah, so, ideally we'd like a cut, but I think that was unrealistic. But one of the other things that I was particularly pleased to see was the change to letting agents' fees.
Yes.
Because I did a campaign on this in the summer with the Citizens Advice Bureau and with local housing charities, because for those who are trying to, especially young people, trying to rent a property in this area...
The charges are ridiculous, aren't they? And then the charges at the end are also ridiculous
and
as well.
And in between, if you want to renew your lease, that's £200-300.
Is the landlord going to actually be able to pass these costs on?
Well, I don't think the landlord should be charged either. These are fictitious costs in a lot of cases.
So how does a letting agent make its money?
Well, the letting agent traditionally made its money either by charging the landlord a set fee for letting the property, or by charging tenants for signing on and signing for a property. But it's the change in how much those fees have increased. I mean, we did a survey with the Citizens Advice Bureau, and on the same high street you could pay maybe £300 to a letting agent, and then go down a couple of shops down the same high street and pay nearly £900.
So why doesn't the government actually go down that route and say, look, you can only charge the landlord, and you charge them a fixed fee for doing the work there. You are not allowed to charge extra things.
Yeah, I mean, some of these fees were, if you change your name on the lease, that's £200. Some people were having to pay fees up front whether they took out a property or not, and that's on top of their rent and their deposit. So some people were having to find £3,000 or £4,000.
There's very sharp practices out there.
Yeah. And I agree with you. When I had a debate in the summer on this in Parliament, I asked for a cap on those fees, and actually the government's gone further and banned them completely. So the important key issue now will be the enforcement of those, because one of the other findings we found was that there are some strict rules that letting agents have to advertise their fees, so you can shop around and identify who's charging what, and making sure that those fees are on their website as well as in their offices. And 9 times out of 10 they're not being adhered to, and there's a lack of enforcement of that. So I'm very, very pleased that that's come in. It's making sure it happens now.
One of the things with the autumn statement that I got was the government's desire to actually spend some money on the infrastructure now, which has gone completely against what George Osborne was doing. And basically, got to ask the question, has the Tory party taken on Labour's clothes on this one? Because at the last election, of course, the Labour Party were actually saying this very thing. Money should be spent on the infrastructure, and of course the Tories were saying no. But now it's all the thing.
I think it's because the economy is doing better than expected. Growth last month was at 0.5%, which was higher than predicted, and employment is up, unemployment is down. So there is a little bit of leeway there, but also interest rates are at an all-time low.
But they were then as well.
Well, yeah, but there was a fear that they were going up. We heard every few months, this is the month that interest rates are going up. Get your fixed rate mortgages now.
Saying it for years.
I've been saying it for years. So if we are going to borrow, we need to borrow when interest rates are low. And when we had the leadership contest in the summer in the Conservative Party, there were a number of candidates who were saying, if we're going to borrow now and let's put it into infrastructure. So, I welcome it. It's a good
basically
thing.
Putting back the repayment of the deficit back a few years, is it?
It is. And I think, that's the price you have to pay. But, how long can you go without investing in our infrastructure? We know down this end of the world, you know, the price we're paying now for our rail network not being invested in, our road network not being invested in, and you know, you've got to bite the bullet at some time and say,
1.2 billion, I think, is going to be spent on the infrastructure. Not an awful lot's going on the A22, is it? And very little probably is going on the A27. When we're spending 56 billion or whatever it is on HS2.
No, absolutely.
It's kind of a sort of splash in the ocean, really.
Well, absolutely, but that is our fault locally. You know, we did put in a bid for £75 million for the A27 just before the last election, before I was elected, and we've got that, and we're starting to spend that to make small, short-term improvements to the A27. We are now going to be putting in a bid in the new year for funding £350 million for the whole stretch. That should have been, you know, invested in
years ago. There's no planning on it yet either, is there? There's no
you have to get the money first, really. You know, we could get planning permission unless we build it within 3 years. That will fall. So we need to get the investment first. And we're also, you know, Chris Grayling announced last week he's going to make a decision on the second rail main line for this part of the world in the next few weeks. So, you know, there could be significant infrastructure investment, but, you know, that's the job of local politicians, is to push that. And it's a crying shame that wasn't done, you know, a decade ago.
Well, there's the infrastructure, and then there's the railways. And I've got to mention this to you.